Good evening, dear viewers of Smart 24 TV. You are welcome to our talk show, the Policon. And this deals with the state of our economy and politics. And we are very much concerned on the politics that matters on the way we manage our public resources, the allocation of resources. I will not go to the theories which some economists advanced, but we cannot live without the economy, and we cannot also live without the politics. It's a pleasure to be with you, our dear guest, and kindly greet the viewers.
Okay.
From the extreme end.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm called Maron Agaba. I work with Anti-Corruption Coalition of Uganda, and I'm glad to be here. And greetings to our viewers.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the
Thank you, all the viewers. I am Honorable Candidate Dennis Amere, a Member of Parliament representing Kiko Municipality. I'm privileged to be here once again with you to discuss a very important topic.
Thank you so much. My name is Dr. Joseph Tindebwa, and we are happy to come to you this evening with a special discussion which compels us and again indebted us to ensure that our country, the way we are running it, it should be a leadership, those who are in leadership, to have an accountable leadership. Our topical discussion is evaluation for the elimination of corruption that is a disaster to economic development. And we will be looking at what must we do to get back public funds lost between 2000 and 2016 as per the Black Monday report that was a combination of an evaluation out of the Auditor General's report and the anti-corruption and any NGOs that were able to cite corruption scandals in our country. And we also look at up to 2022, there are more other events that we know, a number of occurrences that are not all just pleasing to us as citizens. And we cannot pretend Uganda will never develop and cannot develop if we are still harboring, I can call it a devil of corruption. I was sharing with our guest, one of our dear guests, Mr. Maron Agaba. He is the Executive Director of Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda. And we were sharing before we started the talk show, of which we come to you viewers, that we have seen a number of actors who have been advocating for the fight against corruption. Corruption is diverse in its categories. We look at the misuse of public funds. We are also aware that corruption at times has been expensive, especially in our country, through what we call political patronage. Those who go and participate in politics and majorly to win a political seat, they involve the citizens, and where even the citizens are part of this corruption chain. And they are bribed, and someone is giving a bribe in order to get a political seat. Not a facilitation, but a bribe. Pay 100,000 shillings, you go to church during the time of election or before. It is when you are paying heavily towards what you are calling development of the community. But initially, what is in your mind is, I am paying, but I will need a payback. And we also look at corruption in the award, appointments that some of those who are qualifying candidates, that they have been able to also experience, especially for jobs, especially in the public sector. And the major one, which is central, we are looking at, are the scandals that are still on record. And the total amount of those scandals in terms of amount of money, it goes to 24.4 trillion. The list will be displayed on the screen, and we'll look at, of course, a number of them. We'll call the Temangalo, there are many, the ghost soldiers, there are many. And the list, we cannot read it from here and end it. But we are giving you substantive information. Our dear viewers, just be aware that your country, the government of the Republic of Uganda, has had a challenge, and we are just estimating from 2000 up to 2016, we have lost 24.4 trillion, and the hope of recovery, we are not seeing it at all. There are those whom they have tried a bit to work on, We know that one of the Kazinda saga, scandal, of where that was under the OPM office. And of course, it is still there, but it is just a drop in the ocean. A number of methods maybe and approaches may be pointed out to have been used to recover back the lost public funds, to tame down this corruption. Laws are in place. We are happy we are with our dear Honorable Member of Parliament, Honorable Dennis Onekalita Mere, the MP Tugum. And he happens to be, he is, yes, on their Public Accounts Committee, which is an institution that fights, that tries to, do checks and balances against the fight against corruption. And we are also with the civil society, and me and you over there, we have a lot to discuss. It's a pleasure to have you in this talk show, and Honorable will be going bit by bit, but there are unresolved questions with the citizens and us who are part of the stakeholders. It's a pleasure to welcome you to give us your assessment, your evaluation, to look at where we have come from, to look at where we are, and the effect of this corruption, how it should be dealt with.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Joseph.
Yes, sir.
My colleague, and the viewers at large. I first want to begin by saying that corruption by any standard is bad. And corruption has long lived with us in this country to an extent that I would say it is almost becoming legalized. It is very surprising that there are instances whereby if one doesn't present himself to be bribed, someone would think that you're not normal. It is a common scenario in places of work, in NGOs areas, in government institutions, and even in schools and homes. Corruption has literally plundered our economy. Corruption has led to low development. Corruption has killed the integrity of very many public servants. Corruption has destroyed homes and companies, big institutions at various levels. So, in a nutshell, corruption is one of the bad things in this country that we need to look at it, we need to zoom it closer, and we need to focus more attention on it, more than even ever before. Surprisingly, at the moment, the topic about corruption is becoming too ordinary. When you call me that we are coming to talk about how we can eliminate corruption in this country
and
evaluate it, I first laughed because we have talked. As PAC, we have done a lot. And though there are a lot of irregularities, I will come into that later. But it is very unfortunate that children are graduating to very prominent thieves, leave alone their parents. Children even now, they're joining. Now, institutions at whatever level, it is rotten to the core. Even that very institution that is meant to fight corruption, there are corruption tendencies. Talk about the judicial system, talk about legislature. Those are the wings, the arms of government. Even executives themselves. I want to begin by saying that from executives to the bottom, corruption tendencies has been witnessed. Right from the head of state. If you look at the bribery that happened, was it in 2016? No, 2014.
The bribe that was regarding with
on oil, this man
yes.
of
2019,
the Hong, he's called Patrick Hong.
2016.
This man of China.
16, 17 years.
Who was allegedly given about $500,000 as a tip to the president of this country, head of state. $500,000 to the former Minister for Foreign Affairs, Sam Kutesa. And who was given $1 million to Idris of Saad, the president, to bribe their way in
For the
or the
oil
contract,
deal.
the oil deal.
Yes, yes.
Now, one could ask himself, if the president of the states of Uganda could also be accused of corruption, then what is he up to? How will such a person fight corruption? There are very many scenarios. Look at the Tamaga you talked about. Look at the Gavi Fund. The money meant to actually help disease control, HIV in this country was stolen. Now, if we could steal resources which is directed, which is budgeted, which is meant to help our very own children, brothers, sisters, and parents, if we could steal such kind of money, we leave our very own people to die. Then you know there's a big problem. The Gavi Fund. There are so many instances of corruption. I will align them maybe one after the other.
Internet deal of 107.8 billion.
Look at the COVID-19 as well.
Yes, there is.
Just of recent in 2020,
yes,
prices for buying food were infiltrated. Actually, were increased. Those people, the suppliers of food who were willing to give actually their supplies in a cheaper way, in a cheaper amount of money, were denied contract. Why? Because the people who were issuing the contract were having benefits out of that. They gave it to people who are more expensive. We lost about 2 billion during COVID-19. We were in lockdown. People were locked inside. We were not going anywhere. People were dying of hunger. Now, if a son of a man, a daughter of a man would actually go that far to steal money in that period of time, then you know there is a grave problem in this country. So one of the issues that I have personally been looking at is that all institutions of this government need to play a check and balance. One, the executives do not need to only talk about fighting corruption, do not need to appear fighting corruption.
Zero tolerance to corruption, and they declare it as a manifesto.
And yet, in a real sense, well, they're not fighting it. I read somewhere whereby the UPDF Code of Conduct, Act, clearly states that the president, the head of a state, the commander-in-chief, is not supposed to dine with the corrupt official.
They're not supposed to dine with them.
Not supposed to dine, not supposed to appoint anyone actually who is suspected or who has been found guilty of corruption. But it's the contrary here. In 2019, when there was a Shudu anti-corruption walk in this country, there was a meeting at Kololo where the president and the late speaker, Jacob Olanya, was there. Now, you would wonder if the president would reduce himself to protest. If the president would reduce himself to protest corruption into an anti-corruption walk, the one they did, the crusade they did in Kololo, then you would wonder now, who will then now command the operation against the corrupt? Because that would have been us, the activists, to demonstrate. The president is supposed to order, arrest this and arrest that. But now if the president has now come down to walk in protest of corruption, what is the civil society going to do? What are we, the activists, going to do? So right from the executives, there should be a deliberate attempt to fight corruption if corruption is to be fought in this country. To the contrary, our executives, right from the head at time, they're the ones sealing the corrupt from being prosecuted in many occasions. There was one of the ruling, Justice John Bosco, in 2013, made a very, Katutsi is called, made a very cynic statement that is tired of prosecuting small fish. Yet the crocodiles are swimming in water. That was when an engineer was being prosecuted. The real conflicts were not being prosecuted. So until then, when the president will realize that corruption need to be fought in real terms, but not in statements. Corruption will be hard to fight in this country. The police, in 2015, 2014, 2013, there was a group called Black Monday, anti-corruption team, of which I even belong in that.
Yes.
I remember how we were harassed. Why? Because the police claimed that we were giving malicious information to the public.
That information, I still have it, and I think it is the reliable information, because a number of the outlined scandals, they are known in the normal auditor reports, the Auditor General's reports. Exactly. So it cannot be malicious as we come up with this. It is true. 2009, 2008, NADS, we lost 2.7 billion. NSS fund, we also lost 2.7, MEME subsidiary fee 155, and we continue to total the list, it goes 24.4 trillion. Dear Ugandans and viewers, this is half of the Ugandan budget without borrowing. Exactly. And that's why it must remain a concern. You were completing on your submission,
yes, so I was trying to give a scenario of which we suffered personally. By that time, I was actually very active in activism. I was the former Guild president of Makerere University. We had a lot of people who would come and say, we go and do ABCD, we go and fight corruption. So we were doing a lot. And to our dismay, the police ordered for our arrest. The IGP ordered for our arrest.
So you were advocating for the fight against
prosecution
for prosecution. You are instead the one being arrested.
And what was the reason? That we were circulating information about the corrupt, which may incite violence.
Let me ask you, when that was done, did you feel intimidated with that passion which you had, or you still feel something needs to be done?
Not at all. We didn't feel intimidated, but of course, it killed the morale of many people. It killed the morale of very many young people and energetic people of this country. Very many activists actually got demoralized. But the point I'm trying to raise is, if the police, the judicial system, who are meant actually to help in prosecuting the corrupt, are again turning around to fight those who are fighting corruption, then what will happen in this country? There's a big challenge.
It is a challenge indeed.
Now, come to Parliament, the same thing. Allegation of briberies has been there. Parliament legislatures.
Up to date, even there is a recent one where
allegation of briberies have been there. You might be having some.
The recent one where they say that money, of course, it is in newspapers where it is believed, where it is alleged that a member of Parliament, I have not cited the name, that got a bribe of 40 million from the Speaker, which is so far a serious matter, trading on trading on social media.
Yes. So generally, the fight against corruption involves all of us. Okay. But above all, it involves majorly the top officials of the executives to reign with authority. And we as legislators also, there is high need and demand for us really to begin setting laws that deter corruption. That makes corruption punishable at a very high level. So that it becomes costly for any person who wants to actually venture into corruption to find losses more than benefit. When you don't punish the corrupt, like other countries does, look at China. Some of the corrupt people are even hung. They're given death penalties. Others life imprisonment. But in Uganda, here comes a country where by the time the president says that handle the corrupt with soft hand.
Honorable.
Otherwise, they will invest their money in other countries. At least they should be building within the country.
Yes.
That is encouraging corruption.
Yes, sir. Honorable, you are a lawmaker, and we are pleased for you to be our voice of the voiceless. That's how I will do it, because I will say it, because I do believe it's both a talk and a walk of what you are talking about. And in that advocacy, and also looking ahead, how we can make reforms in the legal framework. So far, to the viewers and maybe the hope you are giving us, should we expect there is a private member bill, which is either is to deal with maybe an amendment of the current law, which seems to be still with soft gloves, that does not handle the corrupt decisively. What is the scenario that is happening relating to the legal framework vis-a-vis the reality of fighting corruption, in line with what you've said?
The real problem is, in our law, the language being used is mild. When you call a thief a money launderer, money laundering, actually you romanticize actually the entire system. You make it look as if it is a good thing, money laundering, instead of calling it a thief. When you call a scandal of about 10 billion as misuse of government properties, something. So these are the kind of things that need to be made. First of all, the language being used must be serious. Must be called a thief.
Robbery. Yes.
In fact, those are thieves stealing in big scale. That deserve actually to be hung.
Connivance with the robber.
Exactly.
Like that language.
So the law need to be harsh.
Okay.
The law need to be streamlined to punish the corrupt, so that those who are about to be motivated to steal get to know that if I steal, there's no benefit in it. Secondly, in the law, recovery method need to be put. That if you steal, you will be prosecuted, and also the money be recovered from you.
Are we having a private member bill?
I have seen a scenario whereby there's I don't know to make mention of name now.
Yes.
But there's one individual who stole very big sum of money. And from the corridors I've been hearing that the person is willingly serving the sentence because it is short-lived. The amount of money he has can actually keep him for the rest of his life. So he's there for a short period of time in prison, aware that when he gets out, he's going to benefit. Now, if the recovery method is actually gazetted, whereby if you steal, you are prosecuted, and also the money is recovered. Either all your properties are mortgaged, they're sold, the money is recovered, and also our brothers here from the civil society, the anti-corruption agencies, they need to actually up their games a bit. They were doing very good work. I'm not accusing my brother here, but I'm saying the entire system need to up their game a bit because the level of activeness you used to exhibit before is coming down. Maybe you have been intimidated. Your certificate of operation.
He's going to tell us. Let's welcome him. Maybe he's going to tell us. Yes.
But the bottom line is the law needs to be harsh on the corrupt people, so that they are punished. Also all of us, the leaders in this country, need to find a mechanism of pronouncing the corrupt official and speaking to their faces that you have stolen, whether you have. We should not only prosecute thieves of gods. This one who steal in big amount of money should be prosecuted as well. If you are actually denying your daughter from being married by a chicken thief, you should also do the same. Deny your daughter also from being married by a person who stole in billion. Don't think your daughter should go there and enjoy that money. We should go look after those people, arrest them. And also, as the citizens, we need to have the moral integrity of also fighting these vices, which is very terrible.
Okay, thank you so much. I feel to give you this start off to give us really the really passionate feeling and evaluation of what has happened, and we'll be coming back again in the second session. But let's first welcome him in just 2 minutes. You will again resume. In the second, you'll be the one to give us your package as you passionately reveal to Ugandans what either is happening and what should be done best.
Yeah, thank you very much, Doctor and Honorable, for this discussion. I will just briefly contribute to what Honorable has been talking about. He talked about the law and the weaknesses, but maybe if I first go there, I think it is important first to give a preamble of the problem. We talked about 24 trillion. That is the last count in
up to 2016.
Yes. There is a study that was done by an agency of government called the Inspectorate of Government.
Oh, yes.
That was released in 2020. that says that we lose 9.14 trillion annually. 9.14 trillion.
And by the IGG.
And by the IGG in that case. And of course, there are also other studies. When you look at the study, the Corruption Integrity Report, it talks about $1 billion in illicit financial frauds annually. So going by the figure of the IGG, if you're talking about 9 trillion, and you have a budget of around 45 trillion, it means basically around a quarter. And actually, in that very study, it says that 9.14 trillion is around 40% of the total revenue collections in the country. So if you are losing 40% of all the money you are collecting to corruption, that shows you the magnitude of the problem. To give you just another indicator, there is what we call the Corruption Perception Index done annually.
Yes, sir.
By Transparency International.
Yes, sir.
Last year we are ranked at 27% and in the 144th position out of 180 countries. Just imagine sending your child to school to study and they come back with a report with an average of 27% and in the 144th position. And when you put that into the regional perspective, in the East African region, for instance, Uganda only performs better than South Sudan and Burundi, which are countries basically recovering from war and conflict. We are performing very, very poorly, and those figures show that. We have talked about the scandals. There are very, very many recent scandals. At the OPM, each and every day having scandals. Procurement, recently there are 2 or 3 scandals. We've had the scandals in the refugee response. We are having the things we are giving investors money to go and build hospitals, and you cannot even assess the progress. I mean, the problem is so big. And my brother here talked about it becoming legalized. Actually, for me, I usually use the word culturalized. No, previously it was abominable to be involved in corruption. Actually, it would be your own relatives, brothers and sisters, to check you and ask you. But now, they are the same people who put you in pressure. Somebody was sharing an example that in other countries, like for instance, like in Botswana, if you're a young man, I'm not very young, but if you're a young man of my, let's say, of my age, you have just started working and you have all these things, you are building houses, you are buying cars, the first person to ask you would be your brother or sister or father or mother, where you're getting the money from. In Botswana.
You're going to give us more information, and I'm liking it so much. You'll be given much more time, and we get that situation analysis. Because you can never come out from the problem if you don't know the problem you are facing, the magnitude. And I appreciate you for that generosity to give us that information, and even the comparative situation analysis, which will help us to see how we can have a critical review and maybe come up with a better position. Stay tuned on Smart 24 TV. You can't go away. Mr. Maron Agaba, the Executive Director and Corruption Coalition, he wants to expose more that has happened and maybe propel you outside there to all of us be in the fight against corruption. See you in the next session.